Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. I'm Dr. Jenny from the blog, and thank you for tuning in for these gems. So today's video is brought to you by one of my subscribers. So a couple weeks ago, one of my subscribers wrote me in my DMs on Instagram and basically asked me about my experiences being a Black woman psychologist, specifically kind of just naming a couple of highlights and challenges of being in the field. And I've recognized that I've made a couple videos talking about grad school or my journey to becoming a psychologist, but I thought about it like, I haven't really talked about the lived experience. What are the things I really like about being a Black woman psychologist, and what are some of the things that aren't so great about it? So I figure today is the day to finally jump in and make this video. So yeah, let's do it. And typically how I like to do things is I like to just do the hard thing first. So I guess that's going to be talking about the challenges. And then I'll just talk about a couple of highlights and things that I enjoy about being a Black woman specifically in this field. So before I jump in to talk about the challenges and the highlights of being a Black woman psychologist, I thought I would share just quickly a couple of stats. And this is collected from the American Psychological Association. They have like a data tool, and I'll drop the link for that data tool in the description box. But really to give you a snapshot and understanding of like where I'm positioned in the field, I think this would be helpful. So first and foremost, out of the practicing psychologists in our country, only 3% are Black or identify as Black. That's very small. So that means 97% of other clinicians are not Black. So one, that's already a very small pool of people who are practicing psychologists. And then when you look even closer at that, so if you look just within the 3% of us who are Black, 71% of us are women. So there is a disparity in the field in terms of like Black women being overrepresented more than males when it comes to having their doctorate degree in psychology. And kind of going back to like the larger context, our field of psychology is actually woman dominated. It didn't start off like that, but over the last few decades, it has shifted significantly where about 70% of psychologists today are also women. But it's also interesting that typically the psychologists that get a lot of the shine and who are known are men. But we're not going to get into that. That video is not about this, or this video is not about that. Irrelevant. So I say that to say that, you know, being a Black psychologist, we're already a very small drop in a very big bucket, which I think makes being a Black woman psychologist special and also challenging. So I think the first challenge that I want to talk about is being the only me. So because there are so few of us Black psychologists out there, oftentimes we are working in settings where we're the only ones. And that was for sure my journey and my experience. Now in grad school, luckily in each cohort above me, there was at least one Black person represented in each cohort. So at one point in time, there was 4 of us, which is a lot. And that was a really good experience. But as they started graduating and moving on, it felt more isolating. So, you know, that was kind of like a bittersweet moment of just kind of having that experience and then people leaving. And it's really difficult because, you know, I consider myself a part of the Black American culture. So there are definitely like shows or things that were happening that I couldn't necessarily connect to my peers about. So that doesn't always feel good to have to code switch and function in a way that's not really congruent. And I really don't like to code switch. It's something I really work hard not to do. So that can feel even more isolating at times. And I think on the other side of that too, I've worked in a lot of predominantly white spaces, especially at higher education institutions. And I can remember my first 2 years in practicum at the university where I was getting my doctorate from. I don't remember having Black clients. If I had any, it had to be less than 5 over a 2-year period. And so sometimes you find yourself as the only one not even working with people that come from your racial ethnic background. And for me, one of the reasons why I became a psychologist was to be able to work with Black people, not just Black people, but primarily Black people, and really serve the Black community. So that was not a fun experience. So the second challenge is, it's not necessarily like a bad challenge, but I recognize that because there are so few of us, out there who are psychologists, you know, when friends, family, others find out that you do this work, and because I think people are getting into this place where they're recognizing the importance of mental health, it can be really hard to maintain boundaries with people. I have to maintain them legally and ethically, but it's hard. It's a challenge. So basically, everybody and their mama reaches out to me, and you know, I've had people I grew up with or friends, etc., who've like asked me to be their therapist, which I can't. Oftentimes I'll have people writing me on Instagram who are looking for a therapist, and they aren't in the states that I'm licensed in, so I can't support them. Sometimes like family friends will call me and ask me to help someone in their life that they care about. And as much as I want to do deeper work with people, I can't. And that's a challenge. That hurts my heart because people are trusting me and reaching out to me because they have faith in what I can do. And that's why I'm doing this work, to be in the community healing and helping people. So I try to help the best that I can, whether that's sharing resources or pointing them into the direction of someone who can help. But that's definitely a challenge. Like, I do want to help everybody, but I can't always help people in the way that they want me to. Ooh, so this last challenge is avoiding tokenization at all costs. Working in predominantly white spaces, I've had to learn how to duck and dodge being tokenized, because that happens. And even though I'm aware of it most of the time, there have been times where I've been it's happened to me without me even knowing, and it doesn't feel good. And once again, when you're a small drop in a big bucket, and they do get a black psychologist to be in these spaces, they want to like tote you as the diversity, like, look, we diversified. So I would definitely say avoiding that at all costs has been my mission, and I've been mostly successful. But sometimes you get bamboozled and you get tokenized, and then you gotta set those boundaries. So definitely a challenge. Okay, so for the highlights, because it's not all bad and it's not all challenges. Being a black woman psychologist is a flex. So I think, just as the first highlight, to be considered an expert in a field, given my training and experience and length of education, that's a major flex. Like, I would be lying if I didn't say I didn't enjoy people saying Dr. Temple or Dr. Genesee Temple. That makes me feel some type of way in a good way. And I think it's just like shows me how capable I am. I think we often get messages in society that tells us we're not smart enough or not good enough. And I've proved to myself that I am all those things and beyond. So I think just being considered an expert in in psychology is a major flex. So the second highlight has to do with representation, which I think connects kind of to the first highlight. Growing up, I never met a black psychologist. Couldn't tell you what a black psychologist did, look like, where they lived, anything like that. So I didn't meet my first black psychologist until one of my peers. Remember, I told you in the cohorts above me, there was at least one black person in each cohort. I didn't know a black psychologist until the first peer from the cohorts ahead of me graduated. That was the first black psychologist that I met. And I didn't work with a black psychologist until 2018. Mind you, I started my work and training in 2012. So I went 6 years without working alongside another black psychologist. So representation matters, because when we don't see ourselves reflected in these fields, we may not think that people like us can make it through or get to that next level. And so for me, I'm hoping that, like, as my friends, my family, my daughter, niece, nephew, everybody, my siblings see me, that they understand that they can reach this level and beyond. And so, yes, representation is so important, and it's so meaningful, because when I first started working with my friend at my previous job, like, I was so happy to like have another black woman psychologist to work alongside. And then a year later, another peer came, and then I was working alongside a black male psychologist. So representation truly and genuinely matters. I guess also a side note to like representation, like beyond how I show up like racially and as a woman, I think just my aesthetics. I have tattoos, and there's some you can't see. I have my nose pierced, as many of you have caught on, I have locks, so I'm embracing my natural hair. And you know, if you rocking wigs or whatever, there's no shade to you. Do what you do. I'm just saying, like, things that weren't traditionally acceptable in this profession, I feel like every day I show up, I'm challenging that narrative. So I think just even representation of how we show up is important too, beyond, like, you know, our social identities. So my third highlight, and one of the most important ones, is that being a Black woman psychologist enables me to help the communities that I care about, both directly and indirectly. It allows me to be a healer and a helper. And so, you know, whether that is shooting videos for the YouTube channel, just making mental health more accessible, or if I'm working one-on-one in session, or I'm leading a group, or I'm leading a workshop, I'm able to, you know, branch out and support people, because that's what matters to me. I have a spirit of giving, of helping, of service. That's just who I am. And so I'm able to pair that with my job, because I am not my job. And trust me, a video about that might be coming your way. But it gets me to be able to combine my passion, my values, and also do it every day for work. So I just think it's really important for me that I'm able to do these things with the communities that I care about. So those were my challenges and highlights. And thank you to my subscriber who shared that wonderful idea with me. It was actually really nice to talk about these things, and I hadn't really thought about it intentionally until that person posed the question. So I do appreciate the ability to have some self-reflection and share that with you all. But per usual, thank you all for taking the time to check me out. If you haven't already, please remember to follow me on Instagram at Dr. Jenny from the blog. And please remember to like, subscribe, and share these gems with somebody you know. So until the next time, take care and enjoy this spring weather, y'all. All right, bye.